legend of Mothman is as strong as it was 45 years ago.
The guy who sent it in didn't want us to mention his name, but tells us this is totally for real.
The legendary 7-foot-tall, winged man with glowing red eyes the size of baseballs was spotted at least 100 times.
It's been the stuff of conspiracy theorists for decades, often mocked for talking about it, but maybe they shouldn't be mocked.
Her sister saw Mothman, but won't do interviews. In fact, most people won't do interviews.
But the people that I've talked to, they just said, we're afraid that people would laugh at us and, think that we were crazy. But, they said we know what we saw, and some of them said that it was a large bird of some sort. Others said it wasn't a bird.
They claim to have spotted the creature while driving past a heavily wooded area. They say it ran onto the road before disappearing into the forest on April 7th.
They say Mothman chased their car at incredible speeds. The women were said to be hospitalized for shock. The witnesses all described the same thing, a faceless, red-eyed freak who seemed to have a message to tell. But what was this message?
I may come out to Chicago eventually. I don't know. I have people there on the ground that can look at locations. Me coming there is going to really make much difference.
Yeah.
As far as looking around for this thing or looking, because I've been getting plenty of video from Allison and other people of the areas, places where these are occurring at.
Okay.
So I didn't know much about Chicago before. I sure as hell know a lot more than I used to.
My name is Allison Jornlin. I run the website MilwaukeeGhost.com, and I also now have YouTube.com/Mothman. So I've always been interested in the essential questions, and that's why I do what I do.
I've always been interested in the paranormal. I kind of have that typical paranormal researcher beginnings. I grew up in a haunted house where I saw shadow people and heard footsteps, and it always got me wondering what was out there. And then all of those ghost shows became really popular, like Ghost Hunters and Ghost Adventures. And I remember I was sitting one day watching it and was like, why am I watching this? Why don't I just go do it?
I think that was our experience.
That was exactly what happened with us. We were eating cereal and watching Ghost Adventures, and we were like, we could do this better.
I'm kind of doing a little description of how the investigations have gone and some of the behind-the-scenes things, some of the things the task force I work with has been, talking about, investigating.
What kind of things do they look for?
They kind of follow up with the sighting reports if they can get a one-on-one with the witnesses.
Okay.
They'll do that. They try to document as much as they can, the areas where these are seen at. They try to get much information. I'm kind of running the show on this thing, so they try to get as much information from me as they can. I'm kind of sitting back and one doing the research, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. And of course, with the blog and everything, I'm putting the information out there for the public.
Right.
And I seem to be the one that's talking to most of the people that want to talk to me. So, that's pretty well what we're doing at this point.
So there's an account which was supposedly came from a police officer.
On the night of June 29, 2017, at approximately 11:15 p.m., my partner and I were on routine patrol and approaching the intersection West 81st and South Troop in the Auburn Gresham neighborhood of Chicago, Illinois. We were flagged down by a group of people who were pointing up to the top of an apartment building that was on the corner. We pulled over and they immediately started telling us to look up at the building. Many of the people were very frightened and were very excited about seeing what they had seen.
And the police officer said that he filed a police report about what he saw. And I was really, really excited because of Freedom of Information Act. That stuff is available. I went through a private investigator that I know that has a friend on the Chicago PD, and he was able to tell me how many reports occurred that day, and he said, there's none of this nature. There's no suspicious person or animal or anything that
meet the criteria for this report. There's reports from this area, but this is what each report covers, and there's no report that's anywhere near that. So that was concerning. And also concerning was that one of our friends who is still an active member of the task force told me that it was general knowledge on the task force, not me of course for some reason, but general knowledge on the task force that there was no such police report. So tell me, why is it still reported as an authentic account?
Right.
And that why is this witness still championed as always this police officer when he whoever that was provided false information? So I just think we can do better.
For sure. Absolutely.
We have accumulated 55 Saturn reports, and out of those 55, I've got a strong feeling of there's 53 of those. The other two, they can go either way, but I've got a very good feeling about 53 of the sightings.
It could be hoaxing, it could be some kind of government program, it could be skeptics trying to catch us and, not doing our due diligence. I have to tell you these things.
Right.
You have to be allowed to have diverse opinions. And he's like, nope, you're out of the group, and kicked me out. Many of these reports came from the same IP address. The facts don't support what's being said. And if it's coming from the same IP, that means that it's coming from the same computer, so the same household, in all probability, so probably the same person. And I don't know if Juan has done this has personally perpetrated this hoax, or if somebody else is duping him, but I do need to point out that it is suspicious that so many accounts, 60 different places I've been to. Some have since been taken off the Lon Strickler's sightings map. But there have been 60 locations. I've been to all of them. And for there to be that many reports, just in time for a book to be released by December 15th, 2017, the 50th anniversary of the Silver Bridge collapse. I think that's a little bit too much for me to swallow there. I mean, that seems a little bit too convenient. Yeah, and the other thing, too, that Madeline was mentioning there that I forgot to mention is that a lot of the accounts, if you've seen, accounts on, the MUFON website or the National UFO Reporting Center website, if you look through their databases, accounts come in all different forms. But what you don't really find are short stories. And what you find in most of these Mothman reports looks like it's a short story.
It's
or
true.
Looks like
it is true.
It's tropey. Like that whole thing about being silhouetted against the moon.
Right.
Birds. So, I mean, we gotta show that as researchers, we're interested in real mysteries. We're not just going to believe anything. And I think this is really important to make that distinction.
If you're out there publishing all these reports and publishing books, and you're not putting any notes about how, hey, I quickly went to Google and looked up the weather and it doesn't match this report. But if you're not doing that type of notation on your reports, you really lose a lot of credibility. So whether or not he's actually hoaxing this thing, I have no idea. I have no idea who is writing these reports or who's behind it. But I would definitely say that people should really think twice, before they just believe the things that he's publishing, because he's not actively researching these reports. And we're doing a disservice, because honestly, we should be just reporting things as they are. And you're never going to be able to make connections from where you stand. You're only able to connect the dots when you look back on something.
Right.
And I think that's a really big missed opportunity with these Chicago Mothman reports is what should have happened is you should have filtered through all of the BS reports, gotten the good ones, really carefully documented them as well as possible, as truthful as possible, and then waited for who knows how long until you're going to be able to really process that information and understand it. Too quickly, people were jumping onto the boat to try to write books and understand everything about it, and I just do not believe that's how these things work. Everything is so intertwined, like you're saying. It's never just as simple as like somebody dies and then their ghost roams the halls. It's so much intertwined with our own human perception and, you know, this whole paradigm of reality that we're living in, that we really are not able to disassociate ourselves with that and understand it objectively. So I really think that, you know, that's what I've been trying to say in light of all of this, is that we really, going forward, should stop looking to solve the mystery. You know, this isn't Scooby-Doo. They're not going to pull a mask. It's not going to be the janitor under the Mothman mask. I mean, we don't know what's going on here. So we should really just document it and then keep those things cataloged, and maybe at some point in the future we'll have the understanding, you know, of what happened.